60s, some more late fog. For the midweek, not much change. Still mainly dry, warm afternoons with some sun, highs 82 to 84. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News Falls Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hello, everybody. This is Tuesday here in Chattanooga. It is sunny and hot out. It's like summer never ended. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. We have some interesting things to talk about. We always have interesting things to talk about here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. When do we not? We are your leader in local news and talk radio. You report, the world decides. And if you want to report, you can send your report to us on Twitter and Facebook. If you search Hot News Talk Radio, our Twitter handle is at Hot News Radio. We interact and we'd love to hear from you. Also, just as a side note, my Twitter handle is at SportsCloud. I tweet usually during sports games, and if you really want to see me frustrated and you really want to see me upset, then you can probably find me on Thursday night. I will be watching the Redskins play the Giants, and the Giants own the Redskins, and I mean they own them. Okay, so I'm not about to have a good time. That's all I'm saying. I think that the Redskins can beat the Giants, but I have serious doubts. And I know the Giants aren't a good team either, but when a team has beaten you 6 times out of your last 8 meetings, it's not good. It's not pretty. It's not something that you're looking forward to say that finally this is the year that we break through, especially in New York. I can't remember the last time the Redskins beat the Giants in New York. 2012? It's been a while, and that was a close game. I've seen some very, very bad football games when the Redskins go to New York to face the Giants. But if you want to see that freak out, if you really want to see it on Twitter, start poking your fun now at SportsCloud on Twitter. You can also stream Hot News Talk Radio live on your computer if you go to hotnewstalkradio.com, or on your mobile device if you use the TuneIn Radio app, which is absolutely free in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And I was reading a news story earlier about how a lot of big companies are using statistics and using data to produce greater output. And to me, this and anybody who doesn't like the idea or their employer being able to see everything that they do is a terrifying prospect. It's pretty scary. There's a company called Humanize, spelled HUMANYZE, and they have these badges that they've been giving to companies. A company pays for the badges, and the badges track all kinds of data. The data can measure anything from speech patterns, vocal intonations, even posture, and that measures face-to-face encounters. Badge-to-badge encounters. You have a badge and you walk up to someone else with a badge, and the badges will record that interaction. Furthermore, they do this using mics and infrared razors and accelerometers and Bluetooth. It's like your boss has eyes everywhere. The only thing that he can't see is your intentions at this point, but he can see just about everything else. He or she can see everything. And I know that as a person, I just don't like being watched. I know that's true for everyone, but I really don't like being watched. If I'm working and then someone's watching me, I suddenly become very self-conscious. Now imagine that your boss is watching you, but all the time though. It's terrifying. They're called sociometric badges. And Bank of America is one of the companies that's going to be using them soon. And what these badges do, what they hope to do with that data involving your intonations and your speech patterns, is to turn that individual data into group data, into group metrics. See how all of those things add up to produce sales and ad revenues and retention rates and everything that businesses need to survive and thrive. So it's not like they're watching you just to watch you, which would be creepy. They're not just watching you just to creep you out. They're not just watching you because, well, they want your workplace to feel like a police state, even though that would basically be what that would feel like. They're watching you to try and produce higher output, which is not, I mean, it's I would say it's not unreasonable. It's kind of unreasonable, but it's not something that a company wouldn't do. That's just what companies do. How do we raise profits? If we can keep track of everybody and hire people whose voice sounds like a person who could make a sale, or whose posture indicates someone who's making a sale, or you can instruct people who are not doing things correctly. But the thing is, nobody wants to be watched 24/7. And the reason why I bring this up is because wearable technology is not excluded just to the office world. It's coming to the NBA. It's being tried out in the NBA's development league, and it's been in the NFL, and it's been in a lot of these places. And the NBA, by the way, is not new to tracking everything that their players do. They have these cameras up in the balconies of every NBA stadium, and there's I think there's 16 or 18 cameras that just track the players' motions on the floor, and you can get such data as how fast players are moving, how much they're accelerating, what strategies they end up using when players are moving at certain speeds, like in-depth stuff, which makes nerds like me happy. NBA.com puts all of those stats on their stats page, NBA.com/stats. So you can go there and you can find all of that stuff. But they're putting the data, they're putting the technology on the players, and the players will move around, and the distance is going to be tracked, and their speed is going to be tracked, and all of these things are going to be tracked. Their acceleration, their deceleration, whether or not they favor jumping off of one leg as opposed to another. And all of these things are going to be going towards helping the player have longer longevity. They're basically trying to find which players are being fatigued. For instance, if I prefer jumping off of my right leg more than my left leg, and that was not the case at the beginning of the season, then what that shows them is that I actually am fatigued in one of my legs, and I will be overcompensating in the other, and I need a rest. And I need a rest. The NBA champion Golden State Warriors last season rested Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, the MVP of the league, in the month of March, based on some of these fatigue numbers. And what we're seeing here with a lot of this technology and data entering sports is a departure from the old Spartan mentality, which is that you just play until you're broken. Right? Like back in the day, that was a point of pride. I was tired and I kept playing anyway. And you hear all of these stories of how guys used to do things. The San Francisco 49ers had a safety named Ronnie Lott, who was on those Super Bowl winning teams with Joe Montana. Ronnie Lott broke his finger in a game and was not allowed to finish the game with a broken finger. And because the rules, the way they were written, said that your finger's broken, you can't come back, Ronnie Lott cut it off to go back and play in the game. And they won. And we like that because that is like the manliest thing that you could ever do. Ronnie Lott couldn't come back in the game with a broken finger, so he just cut it off at halftime. We like stuff like that. You know, there's a reason why 300 is a very popular movie. And it's not because it's well written. It's the manliness of the thing. You just like this idea that no, real men truck through pain. But we're seeing guys in the NBA and the NFL, NHL, MLB, every league. they're bigger, stronger, and faster than anybody in the 80s and early 90s. And when they collide, they are doing so much damage. We're seeing ACL tears and Achilles tears at such a high rate. And it feels like a much higher rate than it used to be. And all of this technology here is supposed to catch these injuries, detect fatigue, and catch these injuries before they happen. To catch them before anything starts. But the reason why we're opposed to it is because it's going to take away from our manly narrative of guys who fight through any pain, and also it further reduces players to numbers. And we've already seen that transformation happen in baseball, the Moneyball movement, where guys are basically looking at your statistical output and saying, this is where you belong on the team. This is where you bat in the batting order, because for whatever reason, you bat much better at 7th than you do at 4th. And that's where we put you in the lineup. And that's where we're going to put you. We're going to put you out in right field because defensively, your numbers are better out there than when you're in left field. And it doesn't matter that you grew up playing left field. You statistically are better in right. And that's where we're putting you. And we don't like that. We don't like the idea of being reduced to numbers. It makes us uncomfortable. Which I totally understand. If you go back to the Office story from earlier, if you aren't able to do, if your sales numbers aren't high enough, let's say, okay, how else are they going to measure what you're doing? They're going to look at your numbers, and then with these badges, they're going to look at how you're sitting when you talk to people. How you talk to people, your speech patterns, how high or low is your voice when you're talking to people? Are you commanding? What is your posture like? And they look at all of these things and they gather all of these bits of information and they go, you're not good enough. And that's discomforting to us, especially if it's us and not like a player that we like. Like when it's a player that we like, we're sort of uncomfortable. When it's us on the chopping block, we're really uncomfortable. And nobody knows this better than me. I used to work at World Market. And while World Market is not a bad place to work, one thing that they hugely pressure you to do is push their Explorer program, which is their rewards, their membership program, that you sign up for it and you get things in your email inbox, and it could be deals, it could be 10% off of this, that, and the other thing. And I honestly didn't see the point. Like I just didn't care enough to sell it. And I tried, but I think that people could tell, they just look at my face and go like, he doesn't really care, if I thought somebody really needed it, like, oh, I've seen you here at World Market 5 times now and you never have it. Like, yeah, go, you need this because you buy so much stuff here. Why aren't you a member already? But like the one person that walked in the store just because, oh no, I wanted a Toblerone, I'm not going to sit there and look at them and go, yeah, you need this. And if I don't believe in it as a salesperson, it's very hard for me to sell something I do not believe in. We do sales here at the station. We go out and we try and sell ad space. I actually think that ad space on this station would be helpful to a business. And I don't have trouble selling that. I don't have trouble going out and saying, hey, get some space here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. I have no problem doing that. I believe in it. It makes sense. Explorer program didn't make sense to me at World Market. I was just like, I don't think that this is a necessary thing for the lives of people. It's just, sure, I understand you want people to come back and buy more stuff, but I'm just a cashier. I don't see any benefit off the top of that. So they kept track of the numbers because you'd sign into the register, and every time you were able to convince someone to sign up to this thing, your numbers would go up. And anytime someone bought something and they didn't sign up, your numbers would go down. I had very, very low numbers. My bosses came to me on a number of occasions to let me know that my numbers were low. And I was trying because, of course, I didn't want to be fired. And I was a seasonal hire, so I didn't make it beyond the season. I didn't get fired, so that's good, I guess. But the idea that my bosses were looking at me and seeing me as a number of my output and not an employee that's trying to work for them, that's a scary prospect. It's scary if you're working in a World Market. It's scary if you're working in an office. It's scary if you're working on a basketball court. And that someone is looking at you and going, You only average 8 points a game, and we know exactly why. You're the slowest person on this team. Not only does that affect you on that team, it affects you on another team when other teams look at you and go, the reason why you got cut, we have the numbers right here. You're the slowest person on that team. If we brought you over here looking at your numbers, you'd probably be the slowest person on this team too. Nobody likes that. I don't want to be numbers. I want to matter. I want someone to say, here's Keon, he tried to do something. And that means something that I did that. And that's why we get caught up on the manliness of things too, because Ronnie Lott cut off his finger and the 49ers ended up winning that game. And somehow that means something that he did that. That it didn't make logical sense, but he did something because of how he felt. This great passion that he had for the game of football. It is a better story, which we like. We like a lot. And putting that behind us is going to be something that's very hard to do. But if all of this technology is coming in, it's not coming in and leaving next week. It's not a one-off trend. This is the way that it is now. This is the way that it works. We play smarter, not harder. We'll be back talking more about analytics here on Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
That smells so good. Smells like a big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with two. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hicks, and I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hicks and Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudy Daisy? At Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudy Daisy. Just next to Saudy Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain? There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. My guest this week is former Congresswoman and candidate for the presidency, Miss Michelle Bachmann, who'll be here to talk about just how big a role beliefs play in forging public policy. Don't miss the always controversial Michelle Bachmann this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
We're talking about analytics stats, data, and why these things matter, and at the same time, why we hate all of these things. All of them. And it's weird because I think that sports fans really like numbers. We do. And we get into giant sports arguments. The only thing that's flying around outside of egos are numbers. And it could be advanced numbers, which, by the way, I never understood. If you're a sports fan, and especially in high school and college, I notice this a lot. Sports fans will look down on other nerds. You're nerds too. To be a nerd, all you have to do is like something and be obsessed with something to a degree that no longer makes any sense. And if you tell me that Derek Jeter near the end of his career was overrated because look at his defensive numbers and his WAR, and you can tell me exactly what that is and why it was that he was overrated, you're a nerd. Okay, you start talking about Bryce Harper should be the MVP of the National League. Well, why? Well, if you just look at his home runs and his on-base percentage and his slugging percentage, like all of these things are calculated. Okay, all of these stats have calculations to them that you sit down and you work out. That if someone is doing the same thing, but they're doing it playing card games or playing board games, that somehow they are nerdier than you. Stop it. Stop. That doesn't make any sense. But we like numbers. It helps us argue. It helps us debate. And part of the fun of sports is the what if conversations that you end up throwing around with people that are based almost entirely on numbers. But right? Because we can't, you want to say who is more dominant, Shaq or Wilt. Well, Shaq and Wilt never played at the same time. We're never going to know. We're never going to know what it was to see those two guys play together. They just played in different eras. The only thing we have to argue with is the numbers. For my money, I'm choosing Shaq. But look, it's the numbers. That's all we've got. Even if you get in arguments with fan bases, okay, I'm a Redskins fan. I used to live in Texas, which means I frequently encountered Cowboys fans. And you tell them, well, which one of our franchises is better overall? Cowboys fans will tell you it's them. They've got 5 championships to the Redskins 3. That's data. The Redskins have never lost to the Cowboys, though, in the postseason. 4-0 all time. But that's also data. So we like to throw around data when it suits us. You want to say Terrell Owens. He put out his agent reached out to the Dallas Cowboys because they lost star wide receiver Dez Bryant, reached out to the Dallas Cowboys and asked if he could probably come back and play. Everyone scoffs at the idea of Terrell Owens doing that, but why not? Well, he's 41 years old. You look at the production of receivers past the age of 38, it doesn't look good. It's not pretty. Well, that's data. You've reduced Terrell Owens down to his age and the number that receivers past that age usually produce. You've done it. So it's not like we hate numbers. We just like them when it's convenient for us. And I think you have, for instance, we talk about a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL and what options you have. Cowboys fans and many fans around the league have long complained about Tony Romo. And is Tony Romo a good quarterback? And is Tony Romo an elite quarterback? And Falcons fans will do the same thing with Matt Ryan. The Bears have done it with Jay Cutler. The Bills have done it with like every quarterback that they've had, because I don't know what options they have. They're running with Tyrod Taylor now, and goodness knows how long that'll even last. But they have these quarterbacks that they criticize constantly. And I'm telling you, Tony Romo's good. And Jay Cutler, he's pretty good. He's not awful. And those two guys got injured. All of a sudden, the story changes about how now you wish you had Tony Romo back because your other option is Brandon Weeden, and he is awful. We can all agree on that one. Brandon Weeden is very, very bad at playing quarterback in the NFL. The Bears have Jimmy Clausen right now because Jay Cutler will likely not start next week. And you see Jimmy Clausen under center and you realize, no, we want Jay Cutler back. We want Jay Cutler back. Now all of a sudden, the numbers don't tell the story that you want them to. You can look at all of Jay Cutler's interceptions if you want and say, look, Jay Cutler is a bad quarterback. But Jay Cutler also throws a lot of touchdown passes, where Jimmy Clausen will also throw a lot of interceptions. Will also turn the ball over a lot. He will throw no touchdowns though. That being the very, very huge difference. But we like the human spirit, and we like the human stories that say defy the odds, that the numbers were against X team and they rose up. A lot of our great stories, our great sports stories are, the miracle on ice when the U.S. beat Russia back in the day. We like Rudy. We like the stories of the players that defy statistics and defy numbers because that person is us, right? That person that's defying those numbers, we see that person as easily being us in any given situation. Japan beat South Africa in rugby over the weekend, and I understand rugby's not our sport. Japan beat them 34-32. South Africa, they're the best. They are the pinnacle of rugby at the moment. They're a very, very good rugby team. The best right now. And Japan, nobody saw Japan beating South Africa. Okay. Huge upset. Nobody saw that one coming. I promise you. But it's crazy. It's crazy how many people got behind that story. That even J.K. Rowling said that the magical ending to that game is not something that she could have even written. We just got behind that story of Japan beating South Africa because on paper, Japan's not supposed to. And because of that, we like them. We don't like it when people win too much because statistically that's what they're supposed to do. So we have this love-hate relationship with numbers where we want the numbers to prove us right. But if the numbers continue to be too consistent, then we hate it. Then we turn on the numbers as though it's the numbers' fault. The Michael Jordan has 6 NBA championships, and there was a time when people did not like the Bulls winning so much. And the reason why we don't like LeBron is because he wins a lot. And we don't like the Patriots and Tom Brady because they win a lot. There's so much winning that we're just like, you know what? Stop it. This is what we expect from you. And all of a sudden, the numbers, we don't like them. And that brings us to the Philadelphia Eagles, who lost to the Cowboys this weekend, played right here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. I was listening to the game, and I mean, the question of what is wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles, there's so many things. And I think part of it does start with Chip Kelly, who has basically come in with his system and has looked at the numbers. And I mean, Chip Kelly has done a lot of things with his players' health, and he wants them to move faster and play at a highly efficient offensive pace. And he's got a system, and he's gotten rid of a lot of the star athletes on that team because he believes that his system trumps everything. And I don't like, the thing is, it's gotten to the point where we are ascribing things to Chip Kelly that he never said. Chip Kelly comes off as extremely arrogant, but Chip Kelly has never actually said the words, his system is better than star players. Chip Kelly has never actually said these things. We only have his actions to go by, and we have somehow put an arrogance on it. We have ascribed an arrogance to him that he never verbalized. He never said those words, I believe that my system doesn't need stars to run. But when you trade your star running back, allow your star wide receiver to walk, your second best wide receiver to leave, and your third best wide receiver to leave, it seems to everyone else as though you believe that your system is better than the stars. And that means that you've put numbers over people, and everybody wants you to fail. Everybody wants Chip Kelly to fail. I want to say everybody, but a lot of people want Chip Kelly to fail. They would be very pleased if he did not succeed. because it goes against conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom says that you need to draft a quarterback very high, and conventional wisdom says you need to have Julio Jones as your wide receiver because look, he's amazing. You need to have Tom Brady as your quarterback. Conventional wisdom says that you need the elite quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck. Even though Luck didn't play like an elite quarterback last night, you still take a flyer on a guy like Luck because of what potential he has. And the reason why the Washington Redskins traded so many picks for Robert Griffin III was on the off chance that he might be a great quarterback. That you will give up a lot in the NFL for the possibility of having an elite quarterback. And in comes Chip Kelly, who says, I have a pretty decent quarterback in Nick Foles. He had a good year with me in my system, 27 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which we can all agree Nick Foles probably won't do again. But at the same time, that was a pretty good year. And he trades him for another quarterback, for maybe another quarterback that fits his system a little bit better. Maybe not necessarily a better quarterback, because we don't know what we can get out of Sam Bradford because he's always injured. The Chip Kelly would trade away a known commodity at quarterback for one who's a little bit more unknown in terms of what he can give you is insane. It goes entirely in the face of conventional football wisdom. But Chip Kelly put the numbers over a guy, and we don't want that to succeed. The Browns head coach, Mike Pettin, actually had a comment on this, that he thinks that a lot of people want Chip Kelly to fail, and Marcus Mariota, the quarterback that the Titans just drafted from the University of Oregon, they like him to fail too because they don't want to see the spread offense work in the NFL. And what the spread offense does is it's very simple. Okay. So it's not, NFL offenses are notoriously complex. Okay. If you ever were to hear the verbiage, you ever hear the words in an NFL play, it'll make you dizzy. It will make you dizzy. It's like 13 words long, and you change one word, you change the entire play. The NFL playbooks are needlessly complicated. The football is literally like war. You've got codes, and it's over the top and unnecessary, which is why I like it. I like the strategy. I'm a huge fan of the unnecessary strategy and just how overly complex it's become as offenses and defenses play an intellectual game of cat and mouse in an attempt to outwit and outsmart one another. The game has ballooned into this thing where the offenses have become complicated, except when you look at college football, the spread offenses have become simple. Now it's about finding the first read, spreading the defense out, stretching them thin, and exploiting them based on speed and athletic talent and simply efficiency, just moving the ball at a faster pace. College has gone that way. It hasn't caught on in the NFL. Chip Kelly looks like he wants to be the guy to bring that to the NFL. Marcus Mariota is probably one of the great spread quarterbacks in the history of college football. It's probably Mariota, RG3, Tebow's probably right up there also in terms of just spread attacks, simple offenses that work. Cam Newton is probably one of the other ones. And I don't think that any NFL coach wants to think that, no, we don't need my overly complex system anymore when a simpler one will do. So everybody wants this to fail. And there's something about the way that Chip Kelly carries himself. And I can't put a finger on it, but I feel it too. That's very, very smug and very arrogant. And I think that part of it has to do with just, it's an intangible. It's not something that you can physically detect. There's an arrogance about Robert Griffin III as well, that you just see him, and it's not like he's a cocky guy. Like when you hear him talk, he's like, no, he's nice. He wants to work hard and be humble and look out for his teammates. But there's something about the way he carries himself that there's an inherent smugness there that nobody likes. Jay Cutler with the Bears has a face that I believe that it's referred to as resting bee face. That he's just got this face that he doesn't smile very often. He looks very apathetic, like he doesn't care. But you listen to Jay Cutler speak, you don't get the idea that he doesn't care. but there's this way that he carries himself that you just can't help but not like him. I don't know what it is. And Chip Kelly's got that about him as well. And you know what? It's part of the reason why people want him to fail. You put it alongside the fact that he's put data over people. And we really want him to fail. The fact that the Eagles are 0-2, people are reveling in that so much right now. So much right now. This is Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Looking pretty good out there through the afternoon with partly cloudy skies. Warming up, highs 80 to 83 tonight, lows 58 to 60. Some more late fog. For the midweek, not much change. Still mainly dry, warm afternoons with some sun. Highs 82 to 84. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156. An alternative to insurance for people of Christian interest is Samaritan Ministries, a cost-sharing group whose fellow members contribute to your medical expenses. Hi, David Tulis here, member of Samaritan Ministries. I have no deductibles, no silly in-network rules. I choose my own doctors. I'm a cash payer and get the cash discount with med providers. I'm 100% compensated by Christian families around the nation who send their checks directly with a personal note and pray for me in my medical distress. I have a family membership. I write a $405 check every month to a person in need. Just love it. Learn more about Samaritan Ministries Tuesday, September 29 at 7 p.m. at Brainerd Hills Presbyterian Church on East Brainerd Road. It's a mini conference on the Christian alternative to medical insurance.
All of this talk about numbers is making me thirsty. But also, it's making me wonder about humility. Because part of the reason why Chip Kelly's project is blowing up in his face is that people see him as arrogant. And I mean, I look at Chip Kelly's face. There is something there. Just on the surface of it. I'm not saying you can tell that a person is arrogant just from the looks of it. But isn't that weird, though, that of all the flaws that you are allowed to have as a professional athlete or a coach or anybody in the sports world, arrogance is the only one we do not forgive ever. We do not forgive arrogance at all. We like guys who are humble and they put their heads down and they work. Which is weird. Like, I see Robert Griffin III. He gets criticized for this all the time, but he's always working. But the fact that he is on social media often enough for people to suggest that he shouldn't be on social media because look at what cocky thing that he posted and someone slighted him and he posted a Bible verse and somehow that makes him arrogant. And I look at all of these things and I'm confused on some level because it's all manufactured. We want him to be arrogant so we can cut him down for being arrogant. That as though, you know, somehow being on social media means that he's not working hard. Do you want him to train 24 hours a day? You know what? Maybe he shouldn't do that pesky sleeping thing either. I don't get that. He's not allowed to spend any time relaxing. Even the president plays golf. You can't do a job 24 hours a day. It's one thing to be prepared to do a job 24 hours a day, but you can't physically do it. You know what I mean? You can't physically do it. So I never understood that, but it's something about being arrogant that as sports fans, we just don't like it, and it's not acceptable. Not to act arrogantly, which is one thing, but to be arrogant, to be perceived as arrogant is a sports sin. We want everybody to be Rudy. If you could have a team full of 11 Rudies, that's what we want. Only then we'd complain later that guys are boring. Weird stuff. JJ Watt is probably one of the ultimate guys in humility from what we've gathered watching him when he's been mic'd up, when the NFL Films crew followed around the Houston Texans for Hard Knocks. You just see JJ Watt as this hardworking, put his head down, grinding guy, and we like that. We like it a lot. We like Kevin Durant more than we like LeBron because Kevin Durant comes off as more humble. We like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's, you know, still shops at Target and all of these things. We like that. We prefer that to Kobe. Kobe thinks that he can beat you. He'll just tell you, you can't stop me. I prefer the honesty. That we would actually take someone lying to us with humble answers over the person actually like telling us what they feel. That if the person is arrogant, like if he's like, no, but really, I don't think this guy can stop me. I really don't think this guy can slow me down. To say that out loud is a sports sin. We don't like it. And I'm not even talking about the stuff that Rex Ryan does, where Rex Ryan is talking about how they're gonna beat the Patriots and how they're not afraid of losing to the Patriots. And yet they lose to the Patriots. That's different. That's bluster. That's Rex Ryan doing what he feels he needs to do to get his team adequately motivated and pumped up for that game with the Patriots. And in fairness to Rex, it was a close game. Sure, he did end up eating stupendous amounts of crow afterwards because they did lose, and thoroughly. But the score was a close score. I don't think they were ever really in the game. That's just me. But it was a close score. And Rex Ryan's strength is supposed to be his defense, and Tom Brady made it look infantile and weak. Like it wasn't even there. So, look, there's a lot to be said about saying things out loud. And we like Rex for that reason, because Rex will always say what he feels. And it doesn't come off as arrogance. It just comes off as Rex being Rex. But when it comes off as cockiness and it comes off as arrogance and it's not smooth and it's not cool at all, then we have a problem with it. LeBron James was asked during the NBA Finals if he felt that the Warriors could stop him at any point. I don't actually remember the exact phraseology of the question. And he just said it. I'm the best player on the planet. I don't think they could stop me. And the thing that everyone got mad about is that he said that he is the best player on the planet. But I'm like, look at the numbers of LeBron James right now compared to anyone playing basketball that we are statistically recording on this earth. Is he not the best player on the planet? He is. What is he supposed to say? Like, I don't understand that we like the fake humility more than we like the real answers, than the person being themselves. It's fun to look back at those stories in retrospect, that Larry Bird has a number of stories where he's basically told people, gone to the 3-point contest in the NBA and said, who's going to be second? Because I'm first. We like that now. If Larry Bird and the way that he talked trash then in the 80s, if Larry Bird played now, we wouldn't like him as much. We wouldn't. We want guys to be like Magic Johnson and Isaiah, where they're affable and they're kind and they're always smiling, and they'll never tell you what they really mean. They'll give you the politically correct answer every time. I mean, those are nice guys. So I'm not telling you that Magic Johnson or Isaiah Thomas were fakes or phonies. I don't think that's the case. But they'll give you the politically correct answer. They'll give you the answer that you want to hear rather than what they're feeling. And Larry Bird was a guy that had trouble connecting with fans, Celtics fans. As a Celtic, he had trouble connecting with the Celtics fan base because he just wanted to be left alone, and he didn't have any trouble saying that to people. And people didn't like him then for it. I can't even imagine what Larry Bird would go through now. I can't even begin to wrap my mind around it. We would crucify him in the media. We would, like a guy actually telling you what he feels. Terrell Owens, we mentioned him earlier. Terrell Owens earned a reputation as a locker room cancer and all of these things. It is a guy that he throws his teammates under the bus and everything that you can possibly think of. But we've bred a culture where guys can't tell you what they really mean. They can't tell you what's actually on their minds, because the instant that they do, we crush them. And we'll take the fake humility. If it goes too far, though, then it becomes something else. And that's where you end up with Russell Wilson over in Seattle. Russell Wilson is a guy, he's humble, he's nice, he works extremely hard. But somehow it ends up coming off as manufactured. And I understand why. There's a way that Russell carries himself that you believe that he believes everything that he's saying, but you also don't believe that a real person could believe that a real person would actually say any of those things. I can do that myself, to be honest with you. I have a number of motivational quotes on my phone. If I'm feeling down, if I feel like I can't do something, I look to those quotes to fire me up a little bit or just give me a little kick in the pants. But if you were to actually tell people those motivational quotes, if you say those things out loud, you sound a little fake. You do sound a little phony. And then Russell Wilson will take it to a step further. The game against the Packers last year in the playoffs, and how they were down big in that game early, and then they ended up winning, and Russell Wilson ticked off Aaron Rodgers by saying, God wanted it to be that way, that they threw that God wanted those interceptions early so that the comeback could have been that much sweeter. And Aaron Rodgers saying that God doesn't take any particular interest in sporting events, which I will ride with Rodgers on that one. But you come off as fake humble if you start to say ridiculous things, which is where Russell Wilson finds himself. Is that he said a number of things that real people just don't say out loud with a straight face. And that is somehow in his wheelhouse and in his domain. Russell Wilson does have that about him. And I think JJ Watt even is kind of finding himself in that category, because you're just like, JJ Watt, he works hard. And we saw it during Hard Knocks. JJ Watt stayed after practice and worked for 2 hours after the practice was over, and all of these things. And is JJ Watt putting on something for the cameras? That was one of the storylines. Is it really like that with him, or what? Or is he showing up his teammates and this, that, and the other thing? Because we're always looking for authenticity in athletes. But over the top, we over scrutinize to find the authenticity in athletes, as though our TV evaluations are enough You hear the reports out of Washington that Robert Griffin III is not talking to Kirk Cousins because they passed each other going to the bathroom and Robert didn't say anything. Why do we do this? Why do we reach for straws like this? Is this just our national obsession that we just have to find an authentic person? And if a person that we don't know and have never met but have seen play sports on TV is being inauthentic, shame on them. We're the authenticity police. Unreal. We police it. Why do we do that? Why can't a guy just be arrogant? There's nothing wrong with that. Not in moderation. Like, if a guy just has pride in how he works, he doesn't think that the guy across from him can beat him. He tells you that he doesn't think the guy across from him can beat him. What's so bad about that? Like, what is the worst thing about that? It's one thing to say, I'm the greatest player of this generation, and then to not be that. That would be something else entirely. That would be arrogance, yes, but then you would also be a little delusional, which even then I don't really have a huge problem with. That's just kind of hilarious at that point. That just makes me laugh. That a guy could be delusional like that, and you have a few of them. You know, you've got Jason Terry a few years ago. They were playing LeBron James, and when LeBron was in Miami and he was in Boston, and Jason Terry said something to the effect of, "Yeah, no, LeBron's not that great." Like, really? Do you have eyes? You have a better seat to watch LeBron James than I do. You have a better seat. There's no way. There's no way you look at LeBron James and go, nah, that guy's not that great. And then what did LeBron do? LeBron just dunked on him and stared at him while he was on the ground. That was funny to me. The guys start to border on the lines of delusional. I don't even think there's anything really inherently wrong with that either. That's just worth a few chuckles. But a guy wants to be himself, and he cannot do it in today's sports culture because we don't allow it. We don't like it. And you can apply that to anybody. You can apply that to Steve Spurrier, not only in his stint with the NFL, but just in general, that Steve Spurrier has no problem telling you that he's amazing. He doesn't have any problem with you thinking that he's a quarterback guru. He's none. And we really don't kill him that much for it because we're just like, oh, it's Spurrier. Like, he really does believe that. But by and large, when a person starts to get a little bit of a big head, you know, that we want them to come crashing down to earth. The NBA Finals is the perfect example. Matthew Dellavedova, the backup point guard for Cleveland. And Kyrie Irving gets injured. Matthew Dellavedova is called on to basically be the guy at point guard for the Cavaliers. And it was interesting because Matthew Dellavedova is a very good defensive player. Steph Curry is arguably one of the best offensive players in the league, if not the best offensive player in the league. And for a couple of games there, it appeared that Matthew Dellavedova had shut Stephen Curry down. And you could see Matthew Dellavedova gain a little bit of a swagger from that. His head started to get a little bit big. And people turned on Matthew Dellavedova. He's the underdog. He's the guy that everyone was rooting for. Starts to get a little cocky, starts to get a little arrogant. We start rooting against him. And when Steph Curry lit him up, in game 4, I believe it was, like, absolutely just scorched him. People were a little pleased. Not just because Steph Curry started playing like the MVP of the league, but because he was beating this guy that started to get a little bit too full of himself. We don't like arrogant people. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. I'll see you mañana.
Looking pretty good out there through the afternoon with partly cloudy skies. Warming up, highs 80 to 83 tonight. Lows 58 to 60. Some more late fog for the midweek. Not much change. Still mainly dry. Warm afternoons with some sun. Highs 82 to 84. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Harley Carnes. Pope Francis is in the air flying toward Washington, D.C. from Cuba. He'll be visiting 3 cities over 6 days, and he's getting the most honored diplomatic greeting upon arrival. CBS's Pam Coulter at the White House.
President Obama, the First Lady